Good evening. This is my classroom observation video. The class that I observed in was Miss Rooney's kindergarten class at Guy Perkins Elementary School. There are several components to this observation, so we're going to go through a glow and grow on all of them. The first one is seating arrangements. It affected the learning in this classroom and the teaching in both positive and negative ways, and it also changed after the first day that I was there. So that is actually the glow of the seating arrangement, because the first one was very ineffective. There were students who had to turn around if she was going to write on the board, which was behind, like at the front of the room, so they would have to turn around to see. You had students who were piled 3 and 4 at a table, and it just wasn't effective at all, because the kiddos, they would talk or they would not pay attention to the lesson. But after she changed it, she had like 4 tables grouped together, and she separated them into 2 rows, and that really helped, because then all the kids who were having to turn around, they just moved to the other side of the table, so they were able to see now. And that she only had 2 students that sat on the ends of the tables. Everybody else was facing completely towards the board. So that was the glow for this, and then the grow being the first seating arrangement. For classroom management, she did use the assertive discipline that was developed by Lee Carter on occasion. But one of the most amazing things that I have ever seen when I was shadowing was the way that Miss Rooney managed her classroom and the way she dealt with her children. There was a foundation in that classroom as soon as you walked in, that she respected you as long as you would respect her. And on top of that, she addressed every child's needs when it came to discipline, health, emotions. Oh, he hit me. Oh, he said mean things to me. Every need, everything was addressed effectively, and she always took the time to deal with her students and not just push them off like they weren't important. So that was the glow. The grow for the classroom management would probably be that she wasn't super strict, and a lot of times she didn't need to be, but there were a few times when that's really what needed to be done, was just a strict, firm hand, hey, y'all need to stop, things like that. The typical misbehaviors, and they were pretty normal for that age group. There were verbal interactions, oh, he said a mean word to me, oh, well, he called me this name. They would speak out of turn, shout out answers, or not be caught up to where Miss Rooney was teaching. But, like I said, they were pretty normal for a kindergarten age. For classroom learning, the grow for this was that there were no textbooks at all. I don't even know if Miss Rooney had textbooks. They used supplies that were included in, they had 2 Ziploc bags per student. One was for writing and one was for math. And the math one held pencils, erasers, manipulatives, they used for counting, and some place value blocks that they used to add and subtract. The writing one had a slate, which was just like a regular piece of paper sized marker board. It had a dry erase marker, eraser, and other manipulatives that they would use to segment words, like sound them out. The glow for this section was that even though they didn't have textbooks or normal per se classroom supplies, everybody learned, and they all learned really well. Those children were very, very smart. For learning activities, there was not a lot of structure, which was a grow for me. During center time, during literacy, she would do her reading groups in the morning, and the other kids were just left free to go play in a center or put together a puzzle or something like that, and that didn't blend very well with me because I like structure in a classroom. And the same went for math in the afternoon. The glow, for this learning activity were Jack Hartman videos. They used them mainly during math when I was in there, and it was helping teach the kids how to count by 5s or 10s or 1s to 100. And they also were dances, so they'd be moving around, wave your left arm, let's count to 100 or whatever. It was very, very effective because it not only helped them learn, it also calmed them down so they could move on to the next activity. The classroom climate was very welcoming. As soon as I walked in the door, I was made to feel like I was welcomed there. There was a lot of joy and happiness, and there was really only one morning that the students were just kind of glum and just didn't act like they wanted to be there, and that was the morning after daylight savings time, and we were all none of our bodies were adjusted yet to losing that hour of sleep. And like I said earlier, there was a mutual respect between Miss Rooney and her students, which caused the classroom climate to be great. And there was only one student who resisted any type of learning. She was autistic, and that child never sat down for a reading group. She would not, never would. She would read these reading group books, but not to Miss Rooney. Other times she would get upset while they were doing math or refuse to work until Miss Rooney pointed out that one of the other girls in the class, Anna, the autistic girl, had just, Miss Rooney said since day one, she just was infatuated with this little girl. So Miss Rooney would point out how nicely this other girl was working and how she was so proud of her for doing her work, which naturally Anna would want to be like this other girl. So she would straighten up so Miss Rooney could continue. It also, the glow for this was how the other children handled Anna's outbursts or meltdowns, which there was only really one major meltdown when I was there, but they were so calm and they were so helpful. They were, if Anna didn't want to come sit on the carpet, they'd be like, Anna, will you please come sit by me? Just being very helpful to Miss Rooney. And they were all so sweet. Kindergartners, they were adorable. The teaching approach that Miss Rooney employed was both constructivist and traditional. In regards to the constructivist, which would be a glow for me, she placed a lot of emphasis on the fact that children were thinkers and that they could do anything that they set their mind to. And I think that's very important. You don't tell a child, no, you can't do that. No, you're not smart enough for that, because then they're not going to want to do anything because they're not going to be smart enough for it. So they'll just shut down. I'm also a kinesthetic learner. I always have been. I have to do it myself, show me, with my hands. And there were a lot of hands-on activities in here, which is also the constructivist group hands-on activity type thing. The traditional approaches included an emphasis on memorization and assessment. Every day, Miss Rooney and her students would sing the alphabet 4 times. 4 times every morning in different ways. They had 3 with the names and 1 with the sounds. So that A apple, B ball, and then they do that 3 times in 3 different tunes. The regular tune, Old MacDonald had a farm and Mary had a little lamb, I believe, were the 3 tones. And then they would go through and do the sounds like apple, ball. In conclusion, this was a fantastic experience. I loved every minute that I was there. The students, faculty, staff, and everyone at Guy Perkins Elementary School were phenomenal. I chose this classroom because I live really close to Guy, actually, and I never had any experience with the school other than playing them in sports, and one of my very best friends attended school there until 10th grade. She had 15 children in her class, and all of them were very respectful, very eager to learn, and they were all really nice and receptive to me. And I know with small children, sometimes if you throw them off, they won't respond very well to you. And I spent a lot of my time watching, and I did help her with a few things, if she asked. And I answered a lot of questions about why I was there for the first couple days. One kid came up to me and he goes, "Miss Maddie?" I was like, "Yes, darling, what is it?" He goes, "Do you go to big kids school?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I go to big kids school." So, but they were all great. I thoroughly enjoyed my time at the school. It was very small, and it felt a lot like home because I graduated with 50 people. My school is very small. And I really hope that in the future I get to go back. Thank you.